So, hiya both. How are you both doing?
Good.
Charlotte.
All good, thanks. What about you, Jade?
Fabulous.
You
All good this end as well, thank you.
very good. Do you want to introduce yourself, Charlotte? I'll let you go first because Jade's already been on a previous podcast. So, do you want to just tell everybody who you are?
Yes, I'm Charlotte, and I am a victim of rape and coercive control. And ever since that happened, I got very angry and started fighting the justice system and advocating for victims' rights. So I started the Open Justice for All campaign, which advocates and is looking for free court transcripts for all victims that go through court. And we have managed to achieve a pilot, which the government has live at the moment, which allows victims of sexual offences to get their sentencing remarks for free. That pilot ends in May, and then the government is going to look at that again and see what they're going to do. So, little side note, we need to put pressure on the government in May to make sure that this pilot becomes law and becomes wider and bigger, so all victims can get not only their sentencing remarks, but much more.
Yeah, and is it proving to be like a success? Do you know data on it and stuff?
So we know that about 350 people have applied so far. And from the women that I've heard of that received their sentencing remarks, they have had such a positive impact on them, just understanding what was said, feeling really empowered, and really good. Yeah. So from what I know, it's an absolute success, and it's exactly what people want.
Brilliant.
Hopefully the government thinks the same.
Yeah, well, how long were you campaigning for that before they agreed to pilot it?
About a year or so. We got lucky because we coincided with the victims bill. So when that went through Parliament, we managed to get an MP to put a amendment in, which was to get these free court transcripts. It was voted down, but because of that, it went through House of Lords, House of Commons, and there was a lot of discussion. And that's how we got this pilot put in place. And Scotland did it about half a year before we did, so there was a bit of pressure from there as well. So it's probably quite quick in terms of campaigning timelines to get something achieved, but on the other hand, it's something that should be such a no-brainer. So, hopefully
I think a lot of these new laws are no-brainers to us that have experienced the criminal justice system. I just think it's a bit of a shame that government aren't taking it as seriously as what they say they are. I feel as though we're just being breadcrumbed all the time. That's my opinion on it. There's so many things that could change in a positive way for victims, and it's just like common sense things.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why we're just being sort of drip fed these little laws and these new orders and things like that. I think it needs to be full on, just like radical changes throughout it all, because none of it is working.
Yeah. And it's the same with these transcripts, right? Like, why is it a 1-year pilot, and why is it sentencing remarks only, and why is it victims of rape only? It's such a small pool of people when all victims want it, and we want more than just our sentencing remarks. We want judges summing up, but some people want the whole trial. Obviously, there is a financial impact on what we're asking for, but like you say, why didn't they just put it in place permanently?
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, Jade? Where are you at with everything?
So I guess essentially my journey with the justice system has kind of come to a relative closure. Successfully sued the CPS last year, which was announced in August. So that was a real positive, and a bit of kind of final kind of line in the sand for my own justice journey. But I'm still kind of getting involved in kind of CPS and Metropolitan Police roundtables, groups, working groups, the Victim Voice Forum. Both me and Charlotte are also part of an independent advisory group for violence against women and girls as part of the Met Police as well. So just trying to contribute and kind of be a critical friend to those agencies in hope that we can get some radical reform, and just keep that pressure on, because it shouldn't have to be that kind of uphill battle constantly to be heard and push for changes. But it's been really positive actually to engage in these groups, and it has kind of given me a little glimmer of hope that there is that there is kind of on the horizon big changes, I think. But as with anything, I think we just need to keep the pressure on and not become complacent. And as much as it is a positive thing to see the kind of green shoots of progress, victim voices need to be at the heart of it all, and not just a tick box exercise at this point of time. It has to be a continuous engagement, I say.
Yeah. What do you think about the independent advisory groups? Do you think, because obviously I've sat on them, and do you think that change is actually going to come from that, or because I don't see it personally.
I find that the change that happens are, so they put a project in front of us, for example, like we had an example where there was a case and there was a letter that needed to go out to multiple victims, and they asked us for feedback on it, and that letter was definitely changed. It was amended, it was made better, it had a lot of better language, trauma informed, victim first kind of language. But I am hesitant to say whether or not they will then take that knowledge and apply it to the next letter. And I think that is just because the organization is so huge, and it's like we're working over here and all the other people over there don't know what we're doing over here. I think there's that disconnect, and that's what I struggle with, because you put in so much effort and you make one tiny thing better, but then they don't feed that through.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where it does get really frustrating, doesn't it? Because when I think from a victim's point of perspective, we can see what would make it a hell of a lot better for victims that are having to go through this system, and not necessarily, massive changes in laws. There's simple policies and procedures that could be put in place that could make it a lot better for not just victims of rape, but victims of any sort of crime, I think. Even just down to the surroundings, I think. I don't understand why we've still got victims having to go into police stations where they're very scary places for a lot of women. A lot of women have never even stepped a foot inside them. And we have a building in Barnsley Town Centre, and there's been, a few occasions where the officers have come to us and done the interviews, and it just works so much better. They've got that support there, they've got that holistic environment around them, and they feel safe.
Yeah.
The officers get better evidence, and the victim feels a lot more safe, secure, and calm.
Yeah.
And I think that's a massive plus from a victim's point of view. It might be a pain in the ass for officers to come out and do it, but who cares? This is about the way that victims feel, and about how they need to be understood more. So even just that environment around them, I think, makes a big difference. What do you think?
I mean, I'm definitely very much in agreement, and I would say I've had similar experiences within my own workplace setting, where we've supported victims of rape and sexual violence, kind of with first disclosures, and police attending the clinic to take first statements and things. So I can definitely everything you've said about nurturing a safe space within your own environment as well. Like, it's 100%. I think, as you said, you get the best evidence, I think, when people are feeling at ease and essentially not having to do the legwork to have to go find out where the nearest police station is and all that kind of jazz. There's been numerous times I've kind of called police officer or the police just to let them know about somebody that's wanting to report the crime, and then it'll help them organise a kind of suitable space to take that statement. And there was times that they've mistaken my pre-call as I'm the victim, and they'd be calling me like there was one week the same officers called me like 6 times thinking that I was the victim, and they were so rude and blasé on the telephone. They're like, all right, so we need to get you down to a police station to take a statement. And I was like, bloody hell, like what have I done? like
Yeah.
and it's just like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go down to that, like
No.
jeepers. Like it's
Yeah.
really really kind of just doesn't set you at ease and be like, oh yeah, I'm
No.
going to come down and arrange. You sound really, really scary and really demanding. And
Yeah.
there wasn't even like a hello and confirming or speaking to the right person. So it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always reported online, and when you report online, if it's a domestic abuse situation, they have to attend your house within like 48 hours, which is something I didn't know. So on both occasions, I'd have officers fully booted and suited show up at my door and be like, right, we're here because of the report. And then, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, almost forgotten what I'd done. I didn't expect them to show up. I'm living in London, every now and again we'd have to report people who are using drugs, or if there's like a break into our building. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And they just barge in. They don't make it clear that they're coming. They just show up. It's so strange. And the second time, they pointed at my husband who was in the room with me, and they went, is it him you're making a report about? And I was like, it's not. But if it was, can you imagine like the danger that they put me in? It's just shocking.
Again, it goes back to that whole common sense approach, right? Where how is that common sense? Like we're the fundamentals are lacking.
Yeah. Do you think what do you think about the education side of it all for police? Because ultimately when we make a 999 call, ultimately it's the bobbies on the beat, the first part of call that will turn up. And are they trained? My opinion, nowhere near where they should be with educating officers on this at all. And I did a news piece, I think it was for ITV, a few weeks ago, about the specialists going into 999 call centres. And they asked me for comments on what I thought about it. And truthfully, yeah, I think great. Of course it is, because anywhere where there's people that have got specialised knowledge in this field, then yeah, brilliant. But ultimately, that's great. But what happens when Bobby on beat turns up and they're not trained, and they're the ones that you're ultimately having that first face-to-face contact with? If that experience of that first point of call is not good, then it's not setting you up for a good experiences that's going to follow it, is it? Where you're already traumatized.
Yeah.
I just think, how can it be that probably 80% of the calls is domestic abuse or sexual violence, but yet they are not trained properly in it? I don't get it. I just don't understand how that's even possible. And the amount of failings that I am continuously hearing are just, yeah, it blows my mind. It really does. I had a young woman whose summons for court actually went to the perpetrator, her details, not just once, twice.
It's unbelievable, really. I think there's so many issues. Like, I've been told that at the moment it's the most junior police officers that are on the ground. So they're just not experienced, like you say, not trained, and they just don't know what's going on. So a simple solution would be there pairing them up with someone who's more experienced. But then the ones who are more experienced, I think they've heard it all, and it takes them a lot to shock them. So our worst days, weeks, years of our lives, they've all heard a worse story, and they're just so kind of blasé to it because they've seen it all, they've heard it all, and it's not the worst thing that they've ever seen.
It's that whole desensitization, isn't it, to the trauma that they see on a daily basis. And I think it also comes from a self-preservation side of things, perhaps, for officers who are having to deal with that every single day, day in, day out. But there still needs to be something kind of in the middle where you just don't seem like a completely unempathetic, lacking all kind of compassion. Like there has to be some middle ground and not just one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
It is tricky. I mean, training, I know that the training with the Met Police has been kind of a lot of body of work has gone into kind of improving kind of victim responses and things. I think they are intending to launch their new training modules in the coming months. I know a lot of people, myself included, the Victim Voice Forum, have actually contributed to some online training videos. So telling about some of the worst experiences we've had with the police and just really understanding the human impact of it. Because I mean, certainly for me, I think it's really important that these officers, especially the new starters as well as the older people that are more desensitized to all the trauma, really understands that we're not just case studies and case numbers. There's a human behind our experiences, and the trauma is intense, and so they really need to understand it on a human level. So I'm hoping that these kind of direct videos for training can potentially help contribute to
Yeah, it'll have more of an impact, won't it, than because it's coming from real voices. And I think that they're a lot less likely to forget that. I think when it's actually somebody's life that has just been basically tipped upside down, shook on all about, and just like you're just in a whirlwind, then I think it's going to give them a bit of insight as to how it does turn your world upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about this podcast, and we wanted to talk about what it's been like for both of you to sort of try and move forward after what has happened to you.
Yeah.
And just to let other women know, like if you can compare each other's sort of stories and experiences, what would you say to other women? Because I think, I don't know, it's they might be able to resonate and understand that that's completely normal in that situation to feel that way. Because I would imagine there's shame, there's guilt, there's all of that. I mean, I've never experienced rape. It's the only form of abuse that I'd not experienced. But obviously, even with domestic abuse and the coercive control and all of that, I think there's still that element of that shame, that guilt, that full cycle or emotions that you go through on that journey. But I know me and you, Jade, we spoke about because I asked you, didn't I, what has it been like for you and obviously your partner moving forward from what's happened to you?
Indeed. Well, I mean, it's definitely been a journey. And something that I think is so important to talk about, and I think is often quite overlooked and very much like a taboo subject to start talking about, like sex, for example, after rape, and how on earth
Yeah.
how you navigate that. Like
Mm.
it's a lot, and even from being in a long-term relationship, and I'm still with the person I was pre-rape, to navigate that after such a traumatic experience and something that is so intimate between two individuals to be completely flipped on its head, it was really, really hard. Really, really hard, actually. I mean, so for the time that the incident happened, it was back in March 2017, and my partner was out of the country at the time. But I instantly felt like once I'd done all my police crap, I was like, I need to go see him. I need to connect with him. I need to feel like safe and loved, and like this isn't gonna like end us. And
Mm.
so I kind of essentially got on a flight to Italy, and it was really, really emotional, like just being held by him and feeling it's almost for me it was a real sense of safety, but also it helped me feel like I was cleansing of I don't want to say sin because it wasn't sin, but that kind of, do you know what I mean? That horrible
Dirty.
dirt, yeah, the dirtiness of it and the shame that's all associated with that, and just this feeling of pure grossness, essentially. Um, Even just like the embrace from him, like kind of cleansed me of that almost. But I don't. I mean, no one's journey is everyone's is going to be very different. But for me, I the first thing I kind of wanted to do was to have sex with him, because I was like, if I don't have sex now, will I ever have sex again? Like I just
Yeah.
felt like I had to like almost rip the band-aid off as such.
Yeah. Did you feel as though like let's just get this over and done with kind of thing?
Essentially, yes, because yeah, I think the fear of just being able to not engage in that ever again and not have that level of intimacy with someone, with my partner, would just be, I think it's just would just be bloody awful. Um,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that was a really, really tough experience, but something I'm glad that we did at the time. It was full of tears, very slow moving, and just generally very intimate. Sadness, happiness, like relief, like the full shebang. And yeah, I mean, my face afterwards was just blood, panda woman. Like it was just literally mascara everywhere, and just yeah, and not in a fun, sexy way. It was literally just pure relief as such. But I'm glad that happened, and I think that kind of helped me ease into a normal sexual like life after. But even now, 8 years on, there's still times, not so often, but I would just start breaking down in the middle of sex for no real reason, no real trigger, no real understanding of as to why, but just something like, and it'll just set me off. So I think with open communication and kind of patience and support from my partner, I would say that I kind of have been able to kind of reclaim autonomy and kind of release the physical and emotional impact, I guess. But
Yeah. You must have a really strong, solid relationship, Jade, to go through all of that as a couple. Um, it must be just, yeah, it just must be lovely to have that solid relationship, because I think
certainly is.
for you both to have gone through that and come through the other end of it all and still be together and still be solid and happy and secure, then that's an amazing relationship in my eyes.
Very,
Um
very much
you
so.
know
It's,
massively just so proud of you both, really, because it must, I'm not, I think, and for him as well. I mean, was he quite open about how it made him feel, having sex with you again? He must have felt kind of, I don't know, did he feel a bit scared and what to do or how to
yeah,
approach you?
very much so that like there was a lot of there was an element of being scared, I guess, and not wanting to like trigger me or upset me or hurt me.
Mm,
Um, I guess also with like that violation and sexual trauma, like your body kind of does hold the score. I think the term is hold the score. Is that correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
And it
book.
does. Yeah, despite not actually like by months and months past, there is some kind of level of trauma, and I think he was just really keen to check in a lot and make sure everything was kind of really probably overdoing it on the consent side of thing, which was great, bless him, like really just
yeah,
wanted to be reassuring, patient, support, and like I think almost like from a holistic perspective, like touching as well was a slow kind of pace into things, like get it really intimate, feel safe, secure. And yeah, that was really helpful. And I think for both of us, just to kind of understand our bodies again after such a tornado in our
yeah,
physical, emotional, and mental relationship, essentially. But yeah, he's been incredible, and I think, I mean, he's been an absolute rock, and I think we've created a really strong foundation to continue like life together, which is
yeah.
really important.
Yeah, you must both feel as though if you can get through that, bloody hell, you'll be able to get through anything.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah.
Very much
What about
so.
you, Charlotte? Because obviously we've not
Yeah,
met before, we've not spoken. What actually happened in your case? And we can't disclose names, but
no. So my perpetrator was my ex-partner. So we were together for 3.5 years or so. He was 25 years older than me. There was also he was in a senior position in a job that I worked in, so there was, clear levels of sort of control there. But it was he was my partner at the time. And I think kind of what is so different, or what everyone's story is different, but what was very different between mine and Jade is that when I escaped the relationship, I knew it was like a bad relationship and I didn't want to be in it, and lots of things were wrong, but I couldn't really put a name on it. It took me a while to realize what had happened. But what I did know is that if I didn't distract myself or find like someone else to kind of help me, give me attention or give me love, then I would go back to him. So like as soon as I kind of managed to escape, the first thing I did was sign up to all these dating websites and like try and get that attention, I guess, and that care that he'd been giving me in such an abusive way from someone else. So like I knew there was something wrong and I knew I couldn't go back, but I couldn't like put a name on it or anything. It was really weird. And I had like a bunch of strange dates, and like everybody does on those dating websites. And at that stage I wasn't obviously looking for anything, because it was just to like help me get through that period. Eventually I did meet my now husband online as well. And again, at that time I hadn't put a name to what happened to me. Like I wouldn't have said like, oh, I was raped, or this was an abusive relationship. Again, it took a bit longer. But what did happen was, once I got with my husband, is that he was showing me respect and he was showing me care and love. And it was so weird. I was used to having to essentially perform however he wanted, whenever he wanted, you know, raped constantly. So when I met my now husband, I think there was one time where I was like, we were like fooling around and he was getting excited, and I said something around like, oh, I'm a bit tired or something. And he was like, oh, don't worry, like, we'll go to bed, sort of thing. And it was, those little moments when I kind of just stopped and went, oh, but don't we have to? Like, don't I have to do that for you now? Because aren't you in pain? Or, it was so ingrained and drilled into me that I had to give him pleasure and I had to perform, essentially. And it was just all those little things. And another example was like, I had to go on a work conference, and I was so scared to tell him. We'd been dating for like a couple of months, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to go on this work conference. And I was so scared of telling him, because I assumed I wouldn't be allowed, or I would have to come home in the evening, or something else. And he was obviously like a normal person. He was like, okay, sounds great, like, I'll see you the next day. And you just stop in your tracks, because you're like, oh, I'm allowed to leave and stay over, and I don't need to ask permission, those kind of things. So I think it's all those little bits of nuggets with my husband now that made me realize how wrong the relationship was. And it's now 3-4 years later, and it's sometimes there is still things that I'm like, oh, that is okay, and it's so strange to have those moments and then sort of be pulled back into, shit, that happened to me. I thought that was normal and I kept doing that, and that isn't normal.
And how have you dealt with that when it's come to forefront of your mind? Because it must be like, it's like a flashback, innit? And you think,
Yeah.
my God, did that actually
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's different. Like sometimes it makes me really sad because you go back into that kind of like trauma moment and you're like, all of this shit happened to me. Like sometimes I can't believe that all this stuff happened to me and it doesn't feel real. And then in other moments, I'm like, I'm so fucking glad that I'm not in that anymore. So it really depends sort of, I guess, what state of mind I'm in.
Yeah. Did you ever report it?
Yeah, so I reported it about, well, as the judge reminded me in my case, I reported it 8 months after I escaped the relationship. Yeah, which according to the judge was too late, and one of the reasons why he was found not guilty because I was, according to the judge, unreliable because I waited that long. But yeah, it took me that long to kind of realize that all of these things were wrong, and it was, it was abusive, it was rape, it was coercive control.
Yeah. Are you glad that you reported it?
No. Well, actually, yes and no. I think, no, because of all the trauma that I went through reporting it. My journey reporting was awful. Everything went wrong. I was treated terribly by the police. I was treated terribly in court. I was treated terribly by the judge in my trial. And he was found not guilty. So what have I achieved apart from all of this trauma? Yes, I'm glad that I did report it because he was charged. He had to go to court. There was some sort of, you're going to have to show yourself and what you did. And also, it allowed me to step into this world of, trying to make things better and making friends like Jade.
Lovely Jade.
Lovely Jade.
Yeah. But I think we can all, dare I say it, I think we can all understand why women don't report. And it's something that I'm continuously hearing, what's the point? What is the point?
Yeah,
And
because like
and and I,
my
I feel as though I can't say to them, like, but you must, because you need to do this so that you're protected and you'll be safe and
yeah,
they'll do the best for you, and you're going to be looked after and everything's going to be okay. And
yeah,
it's so destroying, because how can
yeah,
I tell them that everything is going to be okay
yeah.
and they are going to be kept safe when
No,
we all know that
they're not.
no.
No, because my rape case was dropped, so only coercive control went to trial. Rape was dropped, and I found out through complaints that they didn't actually properly investigate the rape. So they gave me an opportunity to re-report the rape, and I started it. The first phone call of the police officer was so terrible that I just dropped out straight away, and I went, you know what? I've already been through it once. It was terrible. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Sorry, that literally just gave me goose pimples at the it honest, and I've heard that before, but it just angers me so much, and it makes me so upset. And yeah, I find but I completely agree. Like, you can't ever tell anyone, "Don't worry, they're going to look after you. It's fine."
No.
I think people have to go in with a clear idea as to what to expect, and yes, it's going to be essentially a battle, and you need to decide if you're willing to put your life on pause for 3, 5, 7 to 8 years. Like, God
Yeah.
knows how long it takes nowadays. So I think
Between 4 and 6, isn't it?
it's just bonkers. Like, I'm
And
8 years on, and I'm like,
yeah,
just finished. And it's carnage. It's been
yeah, yeah. But why? But why? I rack my brains because I just can't understand why. Why are they putting victims through hell?
Yeah.
Basically,
Again.
yeah, yeah. You've already lived it. You've already lived that hell. But
Yeah.
then,
let's just prolong it a little longer. Ha ha ha.
yeah, yeah. But not even just a little longer, is it? It's like a
No.
massive chunk of your.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, in that time that all this is going off, you can't even begin to start your healing journey, can
No.
you? Because a lot of the time you're not even meant to have treatment, are you, like EMDR and stuff like that, while you're in court hearings.
And you know, the judge in my case, she said, you clearly knew what to say because you spoke to other victims of domestic abuse. So, you know, I didn't have any therapy because of it, but I did speak to other women for some support, and that was used against me.
Coaching. Did they say you've been coached?
Yeah, by other women.
Yeah.
No, I was trying to find some support.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just baffling because, like,
but that's the thing, isn't it? It's not only that you're expected to go through it all by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anyone about this, because you know you might have been looked to have been coached. I just don't get it. It's like it's between 1 and 2% conviction rate for rape, and I just think, does that mean that like 98 or 99% of women are lying and making it up? And you know, that is just like, it just doesn't even, like, it's just, I'm speechless about it when I even say it out loud, because it is that poor, isn't it? It is that poor.
It's disgusting. And just that statistic alone would stop you from reporting, right? That it was one of the considerations for me. I was like, do I put myself through that absolute trauma again? And knowing that most likely he'll get found not guilty. What's the point? What is the actual point?
Yeah. And after all that, after you've gone through all of that, and then no justice for it at all. And it's like that, like you said, that statistic alone is going to make women think, what is the point? Why would I even bother putting myself through that for the next 4 to 8 years for the chance of it being a 1 to 2% conviction?
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, it's harrowing. Really, really.
So what are we meant to do? Are women just meant to accept that it's okay for criminal justice system to treat women in that way?
I think that's why we're fighting, right? But at the same time, you know, it's been 2.5 years for me or whatever that I've been campaigning, and I'm absolutely knackered. Like, I've got a full-time job, I've got a life, you know, I want to get on with, I want to do fun things with my friends, and but I feel this need to campaign because I've been there, I've done that, I know what needs to change. But like, I haven't got the energy. You know, how long can I keep doing this for?
Yeah, exactly.
And why do I have to?
Yeah, exactly. That is the thing. You know, with those statistics, you shouldn't have to be battling because it's there. It's quite clear.
Speaks volumes.
It is quite clear that none of it is working, when actually, in fact, it's getting worse. You know, the rates are going up. The convictions seem to be going down. It's just like, and all we keep hearing is, you know, we are taking this as seriously as terrorism. We are, you know, lessons will be learned and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, it is blah, 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 because it's just all shit.
Yeah.
We
lessons will be learned is the worst thing. I said, because the Met refused to put safety measures in place for me after my trial. I literally made the officer in charge write down. I was having this meeting with him where he refused to do this, and I was like, write this down. I was like, if I get murdered, you are not allowed to say lessons will be learned. That will not be said at any point. And I was like, write it down.
God, I think it might be part of training. Do you think? Possibly. Could be a big part of the training, because lessons aren't being learnt at all. And you know what? I'm quite what cuts really deep with me is the amount of women taking their own lives.
Yeah.
So Tim Woodhouse has just done a report. I don't know if you've seen it, but we know that there's 2 to 3 women being murdered every single week by either current or ex-partners, intimate partners. And he has done a report that actually proves that there's double that actually taking their own lives because of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And that cuts deep with me because I totally get it. And I totally get it because I think it's not the... I want to say that probably 3/4 of those suicides are not what's happened to them during that relationship, the coercive control, the abuse. It's because the system has let them down so poorly that they
Yeah.
can't see any way out. There is no light at the end of that. They can't
Yeah.
see it. And that tunnel is so dark anyway that they can't see a way out. But even when they've left and they're
Yeah.
still enduring all the abuse and the services that are supposed to be looking after them and protecting them, the ones that they actually encourage them to speak out to,
Mm.
let's not forget that one. They encourage victims to speak out, and then look what they are faced with
Yeah.
afterwards.
I think both of us, am I right, Jade? We both tried to kill ourselves at some point
Me
during
too.
the investigation. I think I was going to say my latest. That's not my latest. One of my attempts was right after the not guilty verdict. I overdosed because I was just like, what do I do now? The police was awful. The CPS barely believed me. The judge clearly thought I was lying. What's the point? So yeah, that it doesn't shock me.
No.
It's just I didn't do it quite well enough. So
Thank
here
you.
we are.
Yeah, we were just going to say thank God. Thank
Bless
God,
you.
because, and that's another reason why I wanted our building in town centre, because I just think that if they can walk in there, it's a safe space and they need to know where to go. This is the
Yeah.
problem. When you're in that state of mind, how... I don't know, because I was killing myself slowly, but with alcohol, and I knew I was killing myself slowly
Yeah.
because I was using that to cope. And, I've got cirrhosis liver now because of that I have to live with. But I absolutely get it. And when I look at the Kiena Dawes case and Chloe Holland and how they have been failed as well so badly to the point when they're not here anymore. They are not here anymore. And for me, those 2 men killed both of them.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm not even shocked by that report, because I could have guessed that with the amount of women that come to us and disclose the suicidal thoughts. It's
Yeah.
more or less every single one of them. And it's like I said to you, it's because of what they're faced with after. So surely, is that not something that the government has to recognise? How bad the system is
Yeah.
speaking volumes when you've got victims taking their own lives because of it. And I think there needs to be a lot more looked into around that, because obviously, I mean, I don't know what support you accessed. Were it friends? Were it support services? What got you through it?
I mean, you mentioned about the alcohol, right? That's exactly what was my my choice of self-medication as well. And
Yeah,
at
another
some
common
point,
another common coping
yeah,
mechanism: alcohol and substances. And we have a lot of women that self-medicate with painkillers.
yeah,
Um, and I get it, because you just want it to stop, that torment to just stop.
Yeah.
Um, it's
I
just
had
so cruel.
I had a therapist throughout, and whilst we didn't talk about the specific things, we were able to talk about those kind of emotions, feelings, and the process, which was definitely really, really helpful and life saving. And my ISFA was amazing as well. She was just there for me constantly, every single day, like listening to me, messaging me, helping me with everything. And medication.
Yeah. But what do you think if we could make, I mean, it's never gonna be a brilliant journey, let's face it. It's not, is it? But if there could be the best possible journey, what do you think that would be?
I mean, swift justice, essentially, specialist courts in place to ensure that they can do swift justice. They've shown that it's possible with bloody riots last year.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
prioritising
Yeah.
violence against women and girls, essentially, and not just a tick box exercise. Put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. As
Exactly.
such, like there has to
Exactly.
be action. There's been talk for many a year. Like,
But
Yeah.
but even that, a decade, what the hell? How many more? How many more is that going to happen to in a
Yeah.
decade when they can put things in place now? Like you
Yeah.
said, Jade, and I bring this up all the time, and I've spoke to certain people, and I've said, do you know what? Them riots were clamped down. We ain't spacer. They were arrested, charged, and locked up. Some of them in space of days, some
Yeah.
weeks, some months, and they threw the book at them, didn't they? You know, there were
Yeah.
there's people locked up for like 14 years
Yeah.
for taking part in these riots.
Yeah.
And then you look on like we cases like you two, you know, it just does
Years.
not, exactly, it does
Yeah.
not weigh up. It's just not, the
No.
common sense is not there, is there? You
No.
know, get them in, act fast, have that holistic approach, have
Mm.
that bit of understanding, i.e. through the training.
Yeah. And
Things
also
could be
empathy.
changed.
We need
Yeah.
empathy. Everyone that you speak to needs to be empathetic and caring. Like if you were looked after and cared for and everyone wanted to make sure you were all right, that would be a hell of a different journey.
Yeah. Do you know
indeed.
what? Do you know what I think and all? And this sounds awful, but I found along the way that there just doesn't seem to be any duty of care anymore anywhere between
Yeah.
any services, you know, and they harp on about safeguarding, safeguarding, safeguarding. There is no safeguarding. I have to be really, I have to be real about this now, because when we get a victim and we referring to adult social care, for instance, or to police, social services, um, it is literally like throwing a hot potato around. It's as though, yeah, we've had them on our radar. We'll tick our boxes so that we've seen them. We've done us bit. Off you go.
Mm.
I've sent suicidal women up to, like, you must go to A&E. You must go to A&E. Like, it's like an emergency. They won't phone 999, but they need that help straight away. And I'm on the phone and I'm drafting I'm doing an email for them to give to the doctor. This woman needs medical attention now. You know, she's
Mm.
and literally they send them away because they've got capacity to say their name, the date of birth, and their address. So they don't need crisis help.
Yeah.
So where do they go from there?
You need a support system of like friends and family. I think they pick up the brunt of it because they care about you and they want you to be well, and they're the ones that will pick up the phone day and night and come over. Like when I overdosed, I rang my friend who lived, 5 minutes away, and it was like midnight or something. She ran over in her pajamas and her slippers, like holding her boobs because she wasn't wearing a bra. She was running across the street to like get to my house, knocking on my door. It's like, I'm here. That's what you need.
But
Definitely.
not everybody's got that, have they?
No.
No.
And that's the thing.
And because of the abuse, usually, because you've been so isolated.
Exactly. So where the hell do they go? And they have the funding's not been put in the right places. It's services like Resolute and rape crisis services. They need to be funded. They are an absolute lifeline, literally,
Yeah.
for women in these situations.
Yeah.
We'll go to appointments with them. We'll go to recovery appointments if they have been self-medicating with stuff. We will go to court hearings with them. We will hold their hand. We understand what it's been like for them because we've been through it as well.
Yeah.
And that makes a massive difference. So for the government to say that they're going to half it and they class it as a massive priority, well,
Yeah.
I think the proof's in the pudding because they've just cut all funding for services like ours.
Yeah.
So
It's bonkers.
yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Even when they had appropriate funding supposedly in place, you still have to like kind of pitch and apply every year, right? There's never like a fixed term, like solid, you have like 10 years of funding. Every year, right? You need to really, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
present
yeah.
yourself. Like, and
Yeah.
you shouldn't need to have to present yourself. You are quite obviously a really important lifeline and service that needs to be
Yeah,
well funded, doesn't need to have the stress every year of having to go out to tender again, that
Yeah.
needs strong, stable, proper commitment, like from a funding perspective. So you just don't have to stress about that kind of thing or have to fundraise constantly and just if you could focus all the energy into providing what you provide to on a daily basis, but without those constraints of having to think, oh, how are we going to turn the lights on and pay for people to support and things like that, or get some
yeah,
tea biscuits in for the women that are accessing our service. It's just unfathomable. And like I've been to numerous charities over the years from like just counseling stuff to pretrial therapy things to kind of holistic trauma body related massage and full on like a variety of services. And the one thing that I wanted to do always is like once I feel better, I want to come back and like give this place a lick of paint, go to IKEA, go to the charity shop, pick up some cool like quirky knickknacks to make it more homely because they're just really I know a lot of people try their best to make those spaces as open, like warmly, homely, the full shebang, but the funding isn't there, right? And it's not a priority because you need to prioritize the support, but also creating a physical space which feels clean, safe, like a good space that you can release everything. Like,
yeah.
But also, why is it a charity in the first place? It shouldn't be a fucking charity.
because
Like,
women have had to pick up the slack. It's
yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, like the state of it. And when you
Do
start
you know what? And do you know what? We get some right stick. And the fact of the matter is that none of us are paid. Resolute cost me money to start it up. I had to provide the leaflets. I had to pay for the room that I hired to just support the women that needed it. And we have tried, but it's a bit like trying to get it's so hard because funders won't fund wages, but they'll fund projects. Well, hold on a minute. Who do they think is going to run projects? So, and it's kind of like saying that Resolute volunteers or any volunteers aren't worthy of providing, and to me, it's wrong. Every single volunteer should be paid for what they do because, well, I certainly know we are a lot. They go above and beyond. And the fact of the matter is they go above and beyond because they care. They actually care about what is happening.
Yeah. It's like ISVAs, you know, throughout the country, ISVAs are so oversubscribed and they're so badly paid, yet they are the lifeline. You know, almost every victim I speak to, they say the one person that helped them is their
Yeah.
ISVA.
Yeah.
You know, they
They
need
can be having 30 to 50 people on their books at one time.
yeah,
It's like, how's that sustainable? That poor individual is going to be completely burnt out. We talk about police being desensitized to all the trauma and like the impacts of that, but it's the same for ISVAs who are probably getting more of the trauma, because you're going to get the people who are feeling safe and would just
yeah,
speak with you and disclose everything and just release everything. That it's
Yeah, because the thing is, the police only have that. They're only involved at that point, aren't they?
Mm,
So if you've got an IDVA or an IDSVA, that they follow you through your journey. So a social worker will only see you when they arrange to meet you, or police officer will only see you when they arrange to meet you. Whereas we follow that journey. We're there
yeah,
when, you know, we're there to help pick you back up. We're there to listen. We're there to give you a hug. We're there to try and tell you we're going to do us damn best to make sure
yeah,
that everything's okay. You know, um, I've washed mucky underwear for women because they've not even had facility to do that, and I've dried them, and you know, I've got 2 kids of my own, and you know, I do get mum guilt, like most working mums do. But
yeah,
yeah, it's tough, and the amount of times I've kind of thought I cannot keep doing this. It's absolutely soul destroying. But then
yeah,
I have to remember why. I have to remember why, and I just put
yeah.
myself back to where I was, and that's why.
But at least you should be bloody funded.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
But we will one day with hope. But yeah,
yeah,
that's it. We need to continue speaking out and speaking up and just ensuring that our voices are just heard, and we will keep on pushing until they take
yeah,
us seriously,
yeah,
essentially. So good luck to them,
absolutely.
because we're here to stand forever.
Exactly. And do you know what? Every single one of us is amazing for doing that, because it takes some bloody strength to keep doing it. And
yeah.
I think that, you know, we are still stood and we are still battling, but we've not given up, because do you know what? We're not going to let them bastards win. We are going to
Amen to
show them.
that.
Exactly.
That's
We are
right.
going, yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say a massive thank you to both of you for doing this, because I think that, you know, there'll be a lot of women that have resonated with that, and like you said, Jade, it's not really something that gets spoken about actually after what happens, and you've been so honest about really personal stuff, so thank you. And thank you to you, Charlotte, as well. And just, you're absolutely amazing, both of you. And just keep doing what you're doing.
We will.
We will indeed. And right back at you. It's been lovely to
Yeah.
have this conversation, and
Yeah,
it's always so nice to catch up, and everything you're doing. Like, you're giving women like us platforms to share our experience and just continue the good fight. So we'll send you
absolutely.
as well, and we'll
Yeah.
get you funded properly.
Yeah, one day. Yeah. All right. I'll love you. Love to you both. I'll see you soon.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.